I want to dedicate this year to a number of people who unfortunately who are injured from various attacks. I have a whole list of names. I'm not going to mention all the names. We hope it's a refuah for them. I want to just start off by a very interesting question. Why is it that Noach was chosen by God? What might be the reason why? Why was Noach chosen? Like, why Noach? Why not like someone else we don't know about that got kabluid, right? Like, why Noach? Did Noach do anything special?
What says he was
pretty righteous.
Okay, it says he was a tzaddik, right? So, what made him that? We don't know. Eila told Noach ish tzaddik tamim hayab. So Torah at least tells us something about Noach. Fine. What about if I were to ask you, why is it that Moshe Rabbeinu was chosen to be the leader of the Jewish people? What would you tell me? Why was Moshe Rabbeinu chosen to lead the Jewish people? Why? Okay, anav mikol adam. We see his tremendous sense of humility. Good. Why else?
Stories.
What stories are you referring to?
Stories.
Okay, in Sefer Shemot, beginning of Perek Gimel, it talks about three different narratives. The Moshe Rabbeinu, whether it's he saves the Jew in the hands of the Egyptian, whether it's he saves the ladies by the well, right? Three narratives. And Hashem appears to him about this now. What, of course, is an anomaly? Avraham Avinu. I don't understand. What does Avraham do that makes Hashem say, you? I want you to go to leave Orkazdim, I want to go to Eretz Canaan, I want you to... What in the world does Avraham do? Now, what are you going to tell me?
He discovered the whole monotheism.
He discovered monotheism. How do you know that?
Midrash.
The Midrash. Good. Where's the Midrash found? So it's the Rambam recounts the Midrash in source 11. Okay, it's the Midrash. Let's read the Midrash together for a second. Source number 11. Kevan shenigmal 8 tons on the name for Avraham. So, what does the word nigmal mean? What's a nigmal? What's nigmal?
Became a camel.
Weaned. Means weaned, when he stopped nursing.
It's not that he became a camel.
Not that he became a camel. Nigmal does not mean he became a gamal. No. So, the moment Avraham, by the way, imagine, I don't know what you did when you got weaned, but this is what Avraham did. When Avraham was weaned, he realized that he was a thinker. Fukatan was little. And he began contemplating day and night. Futamim. He was shocked. Isn't this what you ask when you get weaned, right? How is it possible that the earth exists? Velo yelo manhig. Who's the ruler? Who's the master? Umi yisovevoto. And who spins it? This is what bothered Avraham when he was a child. Ki efshar shisavevet atzmo. It can't spin itself. V'lo yalo malame. He had no teacher. V'lo modia davar. He had absolutely no rebbe. He had no parent. How in the world was he supposed to figure these things out? He just thought of it themselves. No reason to share. I mean, you can share if you really like to, but we have lots of copies. Right? So that, ladies and gentlemen, is what the Rambam writes. Is that when Avram was a lad, he began to contemplate life. And what does he reach? What conclusion does he reach? Let's continue reading. So he's living in a place called Orkazdim, Ben Ovdei Kachavim, filled with idol worshippers, Hatipshim, fools, the Aviv, his daddy, Imo, his mommy, V'chol ha'am Ovdei Kachavim. Everybody are a bunch of pagans and idol worshippers. V'hu ovedim hem. And Avram also serves idols. V'libo mishotet. U'mevir ad she'yisig derech emet. V'ivin kavat tzedek u'mitbonato nechona. And finally, it clicks. Finally, he says, something's wrong here. Something's going on. And then he realized, V'yadash Yeshim Eloah Achad. There is one God. Hu manchig, he's the master of this galgal, who borei, he created the world, everyone else is messed up. And then he goes on to say, what we're familiar with, Avraham wasn't, this is my favorite word in English. Are you ready? You ready? A favorite word in English. It's also a GRE word under the letter I. Anyone here studying for GREs? Jerry's, everyone's studying for LSATs? MCATs, you don't have to speak English to be a doctor. They don't ask English questions to be a doctor, right? Yeah, just say yes.
No.
Not true?
No, yeah.
Okay. Do you have an English section?
Critical reasoning.
Critical reasoning, but not English.
Yeah, you have to like read the passage.
Okay, fine. I take it back. I take it back. It's all
You have
different.
to read English.
You have to read,
You
right?
have to
Okay.
write or speak it.
And now, my favorite word is iconoclast. What is an iconoclast? Jerry, lady?
It started.
Oh.
Never mind.
I was gonna say an old ship.
No, this is my favorite word. Are you ready? Icon means a image. A class is someone that smashes it. Avram was an iconoclast both literally and figuratively. What do I mean?
Is there really a word for that?
Yeah, look it up. You knew that?
Wait, can you
I gotta apologize. What?
one more time, what does it mean?
Iconoclast means a smasher of idols. Shover Muslimot can psilim. Now, what's cool about an iconoclast is Avraham was literally an iconoclast, and also metaphorically, he had iconoclastic tendencies. If you have iconoclastic tendencies, it means that you don't have to smash idols. It means that you are a rebel. Right? You don't agree with what's going on at the time. Yeah, that's the expression. So there's a literal understanding, which is Avraham, and there's a metaphorical, like mashal, gamken. So what did Avraham do? He smashed the idols, meaning he disagreed with what was going on around him. The famous story that, remember his dad, Terach, what was Terach's profession? He owned an idol shop. What happened? One day Terach left. Went out for lunch. Went to the falafel stand. Avraham was in charge. What did Avraham do?
Iconoclast that.
Nice. He smashes all the idols. And what does he do? He puts the big hammer in the hands of the biggest idol, and with a little bit of flour in front. Dad comes home from his lunch break, and what does his dad say? Son, Ibrahim, what's going on here? What'd you do? He says, what do you want from me? They were fighting over the flour. The big guy took this hammer, smashed everybody else. I didn't do a thing. What does Terach's father say?
Idols can't do that.
Idols can't do that. I was like, gotcha. Right? And then they threw him out. Then what happened? Nimrod heard about him. And what did Nimrod do to him?
Burned it.
Threw him into the Ur Kasdim, the furnace. And Abraham, what? Didn't die. He didn't die. He lived. Miracle. We know the story that takes place afterwards. Okay. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the famous midrash, which is found in a number of different places. Rabbi, different places. The Rambam talks about it. Famous midrash. That makes Avraham what type of personality? Rebellious. What else? Safkan. Explain to everyone what a safkan is.
Includes doubt in everything.
Very good. Make the word safek. Right? He's a doubter. He's
Questioners?
a questioner, a theologian, philosopher. Right? Curious. Good. Why isn't that story in the Torah? Why did, again, if it happened, the Rambam wrote it. Rambam's saying, Rambam doesn't write down every medrash. That medrash he records when it comes in Chot Avodat Kochavim. Why would the Rambam choose to record that midrash as if there's thousands of other midrashim he did not record? Why did the Rambam feel he needed to record that midrash? That was so vital. Why? And forget that for now, because I'm not on to the Rambam. I want to deal with the Chumash. We see here that it has historical precedence. Why did the Torah choose not to include it?
Maybe is it like kind of like a free will type of thing that he doesn't, like the Torah doesn't want it, like it wants you to come to that conclusion on yourself and not impose a doubt on you, type of thing.
We might impose a doubt.
Like show you like Abraham's doubt and like kind of impose that on you.
Because it doesn't want us to have a doubt?
Yeah. No, that is this different.
No. Okay, think about it. But I think you're onto something and then you fell off the train a little.
No,
think about that a little more. You didn't sleep enough over the weekend. Chicago, yeah. The Cubs.
Torah doesn't want to. It wants you to arrive on the conclusion yourself.
Okay, but Abraham did.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Robin, what do you want to say? Okay. I want to show you another midrash, ladies and gentlemen. It's very different. Anyone here read Rabbi Sachs's book, Letter in the Scroll?
Yes. House on Fire? Is that what you're
Yes, very good. That is source 10. I will do an abridged version of it, but this is source number. This is another midrash. This midrash is quoted in Rabbi Sachs' book, Learn the Scroll. Wonderful book, highly recommended. Here's the midrash. Source 10. Go to the second line. Recognize God. Here we go. Go to the third line. Amar Yitzchak. Lama Avraham Avinu Domeh. What's it compared to? Lechad. Hayam halech mokon lokam. Guy was traveling. Vira bira doleket. He sees what's a bira? A house. A palace. A palace. Amar. Shema tomar bira zot b'lo manhig. I don't understand. Imagine if you're walking by and you see a house, a castle, a building, and fire is leaping out of it. You're like, I don't understand. Who's the owner of this house? He sits alav bala bira. V'amar ani bala bira. He's screamed out, who's the owner? Who's the master? All of a sudden, the owner screams out and says, I am the master. Kach avru esrim dor madam rishon vad Avram. 20 generations passed from Adam until Abraham. And they were terrible. Dor enosh and dor mabul, dor flagah, mitoch dor flagah yitz Avram. Hitchil harbeli bov lamar. Tomar haolam lo manhig itzitz alav agadosh baruch hu mer lo ani rishon v'ni achron ani adon haolam. Says this midrash. It actually goes on to explain what is fire is immorality. Is that the world was filled with immoral behavior. Comes Avram. What does Avram do? He recognizes the immoral behavior and he says, "How can this be?" So, what's the difference between source 10 and source 11? Source 11 makes Avram into a theologian, and 10 focuses more on the morality aspect of it. Again, the question is asked, why are these midrashim omitted from the Chumash? Yes?
Well, why are we assuming that the Chumash is a storybook? There's like a lot of things that are omitted that are important.
Fair question. No question. But again, if it's so vital that the Rabbi felt he had to include it, so why did the Chumash not include it? And again, to me, it makes a lot of sense. If I want to know why was Avraham chosen, why not tell me why? By Moshe Rabbeinu, we're told. If I were to omit the 3 stories of Moshe Rabbeinu, him killing the Egyptian to save the Jew, him intervening with the daughters of, Egypt. Omit those stories, what effect does it have on Chumash? Not much, does it? Apart to cut those, save the psukim from Kriyat Torah. You're not going to have a major effect, would it? So, okay, so why those and not...
Which examples did you just give?
If I omit the stories of Moshe Rabbeinu, fighting, beating up the Egyptian, killing the Egyptian to save the Jew, saving the daughters of Yitro, remember around the well? He sees 2 Jews fighting and he intervenes. Why are those 3 stories included? And what happens right after those 3 stories? Very soon after, Hashem appears to Moshe Rabbeinu by the Sinai. So maybe the Torah includes those stories to tell us why Moshe Rabbeinu was chosen to be the leader of Jewish people. This is the type of guy he is. So if that's valuable for Moshe, why isn't it valuable for Abraham? And by Noach, there's some type of, at least the Torah says this guy's righteous.
Well,
by Abraham, nothing. And we know there's these famous midrashim about him that every kid knows, right? So why not include, make reference, something? No. All of a sudden, no one knows what happened. He's 75 years old. God appears to him. Lech lecha ma'artzecha. He's 75. Right? Okay. I want to argue. I want to go along kind of what Ariel was saying. I want you guys to tell me what you think about this theory. My theory is as follows. The greatest thing about Abraham is not what he did, but it's what he will do. And I'm not an Avraham Avinu, meaning not everyone is a theologian. When it comes to Moshe Rabbeinu, why is Moshe chosen? Moshe is chosen because of his moral, ethical behavior. We don't really see that as much, at least not now, by Avraham Avinu. We will see that as Avraham advances. Meaning, what the Torah, I think, wants to tell us is the greatest part about Avraham wasn't discovering God. By the way, I just want to go on a tangent for a second. Everyone always says Avraham was the first person to... We just read it. It was what? Monotheism. That's a mistake. If you go back to... First of all, what about Noach? What about Adam? Also, historically, it's a problem because if you go back historically, we know that in the ancient world there was a very small pocket of an ancient civilization that actually lived in Egypt. It was also monotheistic. And many biblical critics want to argue that's where Abraham learned it from, because Abraham spent time in Egypt, and that's where he picked it up from. Okay? There's a problem with that in and of itself. But the greatest thing is not that Abraham was a monotheist. The greatest thing with Abraham, here's another fancy English word, that he's what? A covenantal monotheist. Big differences in the two. What's a covenantal monotheist? A covenant means a... No. What's a covenant? A pact, a promise, a relationship. The greatest chidush of Judaism, of Abraham, is that there's a relationship between God and humanity. To say that there's one God doesn't mean anything. Why? One God created the world and left the world. Monotheism is insufficient in and of itself. It's covenantal. There's a relation. The fact that God cares about every individual, that's what really matters, ladies and gentlemen, about Judaism. Okay? That's very different than monotheism. Everyone gets confused. So when someone says Abraham described monotheism, say wrong. Covenantal monotheism. Very big difference in the two of them. And that, now you appreciate what's a brit milah. A marriage is also a covenant. We see that everywhere. If a person wears a wedding ring, and all of a sudden the wedding ring gets lost, is the marriage over? Why not? What's the function of the ring? Just a symbol. A brit milah, is a brit milah the symbol, or is a brit milah the covenant? Of course it's just a symbol. It only applies to... the covenant is between the Jewish people and God. Men just need reminders more than women. Especially sometimes in certain locations. Men need reminders. Speak to Bill Clinton. Right? It's true. Right?
She was a nice
So,
Jewish girl.
what?
She was a nice Jewish girl.
It's true, but Now, one of the things and this is very important, because otherwise it's sexist. If a brit milah is so important, men and women, the answer is it's not important. I mean, of course it's important. But that's why brit milah is called Ot Brit. It's a sign. Shabbos. What's Shabbos called? Ot Hi Le'olam. It's a symbol. It's a sign to remind. It's not the covenant. Shabbos isn't the covenant. Shabbos is a reminder of the Brit. We need reminders. We live. We have symbolism is how we live. Wedding rings are a symbolism. Maybe you wear these little charms, best friend forever, right? Those are symbolisms. They remind us of things. We need reminders in life. That's what mezuzahs are reminders. A lot of things that we do are reminders. That helps us. The Magen David things are reminders. Okay. Keep as a reminder. Tzitzit helps us remember things as well. So a lot of things are reminders. We need reminders, and that's what they're all about. So again, Avraham was the first person to create covenantal monotheism. Why is it that his stories of why he was chosen are not mentioned? We have two theories so far. One is that it's not about what Avraham did, it's what Avraham will do. And not everyone could relate to necessarily becoming such a theologian like in number 11. I want to show you this inside. Take a look at this. And this will be my... Yeah.
Is the rest of Abraham so relatable? Like that part's not, but the rest is. I feel like he's always going to be someone who's not so relatable. Like,
what do you mean?
As in everything he does after that isn't something I can relate to, or a lot of people can relate to. Getting up and just going without knowing where to go. Okay, to see us. It's not like these aren't things that are relatable either, though.
So I think so. The question is that?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I get it. It's interesting when it comes to, in fact, the opposite. We don't want to be tested.
Okay.
But after the question is often chosen because of the Akedah. Okay, so I meant to include a pasuk in Vayera, which I remembered afterwards. Okay, hold on. We'll. It's an important question. Remind me. What I want to do is, what's the last narrative before Avraham is onto the scene? That is source number 1. Ladies and gentlemen, what is so bad about Dor Haflaga? What do they do that's so bad? Look at source number 1 and tell me what's bad about Migdal Bavel. What's their sin? What do they do that's so bad? And tell me why. Read the psukim. I know. Source number 1. Read the psukim and tell me why are the people in Migdal Bavel so bad? What do they do that's so bad? I want to argue that maybe they're not so bad. They have tremendous unity. One language, one idea, one location, dvarim achadim, they're united. What's so bad about Migdal Bavel?
היה בזה סוג של חוצפה כאילו.
In what sense?
קודם כל כי היה את רצון האל בזה שהעמים היו נפרדים וכל אחד היה שפה אחרת מקום אחר.
לא, זה בסוף. זה התוצאה.
לא, אבל לפני כן, לפני שהם גם היו סוג של מפוזרים והם רצו כאילו להיות במקום אחד וגם עצם הבנייה הייתה רצון כאילו להתקרב לאלוהים וכאילו להשתוות אליו באיזשהו מובן.
זה באמת ככה? לבנות, כל כך כתוב בתורה, כתוב בפסוקים עצמם שהם רצו להילחם נגד השם?
לא להילחם, היה מספיק להתקרב אליו.
אז זה טוב, לא? להתקרב על השם זה לא טוב?
לא להתקרב במובן רצו להתקרב כדי לקבל סוג של כוח, אני חושב.
Koach? Let's take a look at this. I think it's a very important idea. Everyone is united. They travel east. They find a valley. So this is, by the way, this is an important line from a construction perspective, like architecture, right? What are they using? They're using a blast furnace to produce material that's very strong. Meaning, stones are good, bricks are better. Why? Because stones, you can't build as high because they're not even, they're not straight. Bricks can support much more weight. So they wanted to build the CN Tower, which is much stronger. That's what that pasuk is telling us. Look at Dalit. V'yomru, hava nivne lanu iru migdal. We want to build a city and a tower. V'rosho b'shamayim, and the top of this tower will be in heaven. V'naseh lanu shem. Now, what it means? V'naseh lanu shem.
Make a name for ourselves.
Make a name for ourselves. Pay enough foods. Is there anything wrong with making a name for yourself? What's wrong with making a name for yourself? But what's another way of saying a name for yourself?
Be famous.
Be famous, reputation, right? So if I want to be on the front page of the paper tomorrow, so Vinasa Lanu Shem. What was the function of this Iru Migdal? To create a world based on humans. Well, I want to be on the front page of the paper. Nasa Lanu Shem. Let's continue. Hashem realizes Hashem says one language, one nation. This is no good. And what does Hashem do? He makes them speak different languages so they spread out. We see here, is unity a good thing?
Yeah.
No, it's called communism.
Oh my God.
If everyone has one goal and one purpose and one language, it's called communism. Again, unity.
Also Judaism. Yeah.
Okay, very important. Unity is not good nor is it bad. The answer is, it depends. What are you uniting around? Yeah. The Nazis were very united. Everyone's, right?
It can be used for, like anything, it can be used for good or bad.
Anything.
Very good. So what does the Torah say? The fact that they're united is nice, but that's not enough. What was their mission? If their goal is about building a city, is about power, is about themselves, so that's bad.
I feel like we do that now.
What do you mean?
Like build towers and legacies and like who can build the big, I don't know. Does that not, it just sounds like us today.
The
whole world today revolves around.
Everyone wants to leave
The whole
their
world today
legacy
revolves around
and they want to
fame.
have,
That's terrible. That's not good.
Obviously,
But why
it's
is it
not
not?
good.
Their religion started. It's not like they
Revolves
they
around fame.
gave they went away from God.
everyone's thing.
Of course it is. If you're focused on yourself, they're not focused on God.
But were they ever focused on God to start with?
Why?
They should have. Maybe they should have been.
But they weren't like they weren't. I don't know. They weren't Jews. They weren't a religious society
So-
at all. It's like saying like any society nowadays.
But it's clear that what's the proof that God has expectations of human beings without uttering one mitzvah? What's the proof that God expects natural morality? Proof.
Like your conscience.
No, that's before. Before Noach laws, what does God do? God wipes out the entire known world without issuing one mitzvah. I can see the following. Excuse me. God, you don't tell us what to do. God comes in the time of Noach, wipes out the known world, and he doesn't even issue one mitzvah. What do you want from them? They could say, we're not supposed to act this way. How are we supposed to know? What's the answer?
You're supposed to know.
You're supposed to know. You follow? It's clear that God has an expectation of universal morality. Again, doesn't mean they have to put on tefillin and wear shatnez and not wear shatnez? Of course not. Right? But it's clear that God has an expectation of morality from the human beings. Proven? Good. So therefore, God can say, I expect you to create a city. I'm not saying that the city has to have mezuzahs in every door, right? I'm not saying it has to have But to create a city which is all about Nasa Lanu shame is something which God perceives as despicable. Now, he doesn't wipe them out. But here's also what's fascinating. Imagine if the entire city is all about one idea. Maybe, what's the problem with communism? Communism creates, what was that?
Nothing.
She's picked up a something at York to become a communist too, so you gotta be careful. What was that?
She also went to Bravenders.
What do you do with communism?
Yeah, is that not in the brochure?
What?
Right?
By the way, one of the amazing things about Avraham is in order to be an iconoclast, Avraham is the antithesis of Migdal Bavel. How? They're interested in everyone has to do one thing. Everyone's like, I'm not doing what you guys are doing. I'm breaking away. I'm smashing your idols. Avraham didn't accept status quo. He rebelled against status quo. Disunity, breaking. Avraham is Avraham Ha'ivri. What is Avraham Ha'ivri? Everyone's in one place. He's on the other side. So it's in order for an Avraham personality to even exist, you can't even exist in this type of climate, this type of environment. Isn't that neat? So, now, what does Avraham do? So again, Na'aseh lanu shame is what's done by Migdal Bavel. What does Avraham do? Ladies and gentlemen, look at the end of source number 2. What does Avraham do? He's not interested in Na'aseh lanu shame. What is he interested in doing? Vayikra b'shem Hashem. Vayikra b'shem Hashem does not mean he stood on a hilltop and did this. God, 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 God. You know? Vayikra b'shem Hashem by Beit El and I. No. He didn't do that. What did he do? So take a look at the Ramban. Ramban says, what is Vayikra b'shem Hashem? Onkelos says he davened. But says the Ramban, v'nachon she'akoreh b'kol gadol shem lifnei mizbeach et Hashem Hashem. Modia oto ve'lehuto livnei adam. He taught people about God. Ki b'orgazim hayam lamdam v'lo avu shemo. He tried to teach in Orkazim. That didn't work out so well. And then he eventually continued in this way. Where? In Eretz Yisrael. Meaning, the idea of Na'aseh lanu shame is Migdal Bavel. Avraham is not about putting humans at the center, but it's about placing God at the center. And this, by the way, is one of the most important themes in the purpose of the Beit HaMikdash. Take a look in source 5. What is the purpose of why we build a Beit HaMikdash? Look at the first line. Lasum et shemo sham. It's about God's reputation. You know how you got it when you were in high school? The principal got in the bus and said, make sure, ladies or gentlemen, make sure you don't make a Chilul Hashem. So what does that mean? Nice ringtone.
I'll look at it.
What does it mean? So again, what happens if you don't, you go, what trips do people go on when they're in school?
Yeah, usually camp they do that.
Oh, it's a camp thing?
I don't know, I've been at camp.
Okay, school. Okay, it's beautiful. What happens if... What happens...
That's what we used to do.
Are you serious?
Yeah, we had surf days.
Oh, you're so cool.
No way.
Like we have speed days. They have
That's true. You're right. That's a good comparison. Okay. Fine. We have snowball making day. Beat that. Yeah, beat that, Australian. Okay. Now, let's say you go surfing in Australia or to Stratford if you're a Torontonian. What happens if you don't behave properly? What do all the teachers say to you? What happens? Now, so what does that mean? Look back. The person who's going to visit, who's in 2 rows behind you, who sees these teenagers acting appropriately, will come to which conclusion?
Jews are the worst.
Why they reach that conclusion? You are Jewish. Jewish equals rowdy and no niceness. That's a bad word to use. Therefore, Jews are bad. So, Avraham is about what? Kiddush. What does that mean? Teach people, what does it mean? What does God represent? Now, how does he do this? What is Avraham known for? So, the best way to accomplish Na'aseh lanu shame, the best way to accomplish enhancing God's reputation is through positive behavior, through kindness, through chesed. That's Avraham Avinu. Right? And that's exactly, I think, why Avraham is coming onto the scene and the purpose of why Avraham is chosen. Not because of what he did, because what he will do. So Robin asked a very good question. Robin said, "Well, yep. What about the Akedah?" So it's true. I think the emphasis is on Vayikra B'Shem Hashem. How is Avram able to build that reputation? Maybe it's the Akedah, but I'm not sure if that's necessarily what builds his reputation up. Right? It's not definitely what's public, right? It's definitely not public. What happens to the Jewish people who are not behaving properly? What happens to the Beit HaMikdash if the Jews don't behave properly? Gets destroyed. Why? What's the purpose of the Beit HaMikdash? The purpose of Beit HaMikdash is exactly what Shlomo Melech said. Look at source 6. Look at Mem Gimel. Atati shema hashamayim mechon shivtecha v'siduk hanochri laman yedu kol amei aretz et shemecha liyira otcha ka'amcha Yisrael v'ladat ki shimcha nikra l'bayit hazeh asher banita. If the Jewish people behave properly, good for God's reputation. If the Jewish people don't behave properly, what happens? Bad for God's reputation. They get exiled, Beit HaMikdash gets destroyed, because then it's not needed. Let's to conclude, I want to show you, we'll end with number 12. I want to show you number 9. This is a pasuk in Tzefania, which really connects Migdal Bavel to our theme very nicely. That Tzefania tells us, Ki az efoch elamim safa v'burah likro kulam b'shem Hashem la'avdo shechem echad. That one day all the nations will speak this clear language, and they're not going to be focused on themselves, but rather likro kulam, with God's reputation. La'avdo shechem echad, with one portion. Okay, maybe we won't say 12. We'll say 12. Yeah, go.
What is this source that we just read? Where is
Tzefania.
What is that? How can I know?
Tresor.
Oh, okay.
It's Tresor.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, what I think, what I wanted to demonstrate really today is that we all know a lot about why certain leaders were chosen. Moshe was chosen. We have a little throwaway, a couple lines about Noach. We know a lot about, let's see, David HaMelech, what he did, right? Look what David HaMelech has to go through before he's chosen for his mission. When it comes to Avraham, it's not in the Chumash. The Midrashim are rich with why Avraham was chosen. And we have to answer the question, why is that? So I think there's reason number one is maybe we're not all theologians. We can't all reach these types of conclusions. It's not about what Avraham did in the past, what he will do in the future. And the Torah actually tells us in Parashat Vayera, what will he do? He will, L'man asher yitzav et banav et beito, Lasot derech Hashem, tzedek u'mishpat. That he's going to teach his children, tzedek u'mishpat. Will teach his children about the ways of righteousness, how to behave properly. And that's why Avraham makes a Kiddush Hashem. Because when Avraham places God at the center, what's he ultimately doing? He's ultimately saying, you know what? You know what it's like? When I put God at the center, it makes me a better person. Right? Even, by the way, even making a bracha over food, at least I pause over for a second, maybe 3 if you're very frum, right? Where does this food come from? Before I put it in my mouth, I'm going to pause for a second. I'm going to think. It makes me much more sensitive. Appreciate it, hopefully. Appreciate where it comes from. That's what we say, Baruch Atah Hashem, Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. What does that mean? Bless He and His reputation. When you make a bracha, you're increasing God's presence in the world. Right? The powerful, but Amen does as well. And so I think when we become more, what Avraham does is, Avraham is the first person to say, I'm going to put God at the center of the world, and by doing so, I'm going to enhance God's reputation. And how do I accomplish this? Through certain types of behaviors. And that's good for me, it's good for God, it's good for, eventually later on, will be the Jewish people. And if we fail to do so, if we make a Chilul Hashem, then the whole purpose of who we are and why we are and what our function is, and that's why what is our function, as B'nai Avraham Avinu, our goals, our responsibilities continue in that way as well. And if we're hopeful, and one of the, what's nice, in the world that we live in, on campus, we have this opportunity on a regular basis to make that Kiddush Hashem, because everyone's looking at us, whether we know it or don't know it, want it. Whether you like it or not, that's what people look at us. It's not one of those things that, no one's... We weren't, by the way, to some extent, we didn't have a choice. Well, we really didn't have a choice, not to some extent, right? That's kind of the function of who we are and what we are. And so hopefully if we're able to lead up to our reputation and to rise to the occasion, We're going to continue to enhance God's presence in this world, and the people around us who interact with us will say, wow, what an amazing, look how nice those people are. When they speak and when they talk, and that has an opportunity really to make a Kiddush Hashem, which is exactly what Avram Avinu did, which hopefully eventually will lead to this pasuk, which says, in one day, everyone will speak this clear language of ultimately Likro B'Shem Hashem, Lovdo Shechem Achad. That's why we say, V'nemar, V'yashem L'melech HaKol Haaretz, Bayom Hu Yeh, Hashem Achad, U'Shmo Achad. Right? That one day everyone will recognize, hopefully, the purpose of God and enhance His reputation, one small act at a time. Okay. Shukran, everybody. Thank you so much.